On the news tonight, Osun government says new deal with Segilola has no link with investigative report. President Tinubu signs South-South Development Bill into law. House of Representatives rescinds decision on bill seeking to strip VP governors of immunity. And on the foreign scene, UN calls on warring factions in Sudan to uphold 2018 agreement. Good evening, the major report. I am Babatunde Fanuopo. Spokesperson to Osun State Governor Malam Olawale Rashid says the attention of the Osun State government has been drawn to a misguided report which published the report of an investigative committee on the business and legal dispute between the Thurs Exploration Limited and the state government. Malam Rashid said those who sponsored the report with a view to sabotage the new deal between the two parties assumed the discussion facilitated by the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Mr. Adeleke, and the agreement brokered was based on the report of the 12-man investigative committee. He maintained that while Osun State government is not privy to the report, the minister decided out of his volition that the said report cannot provide the required solution to the business and operational dispute between the two parties. Malam Rashid urged members of the public to ignore the fake news from saboteurs that may disrupt economic activities of the state. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has signed the South-South Development Commission Bill into law, signifying a historic advancement towards equitable regional development in the country. Reports say that the achievement for the region results from the effort of the Chairman Senate Committee on NDDC, Senator Asukwo Ekpeyong. It was gathered that Senator Ekpeyong, with some co-sponsors from the South-South geopolitical zone, introduced the bill last year to address systemic disparities in resource allocation and development. Senator Ekpeyong emphasized the need for a dedicated commission to prioritize geopolitical equity over oil revenue-based allocations, ensuring all South-South states, including Cross River, which previously received minimal and NDDC benefits, gain equitable access to resources. The bill ensures funding through federal allocations, international grants, and partnerships, bypassing the NDDC's oil-dependent model, shields the Commission from fluctuations in oil prices, and ensures sustained development. The senators appreciated President Tinubu for his commitment to regional development, as the new commission will address the region's challenges such as infrastructure deficit and environmental degradation, while ensuring Cross River and all South-South states receive the resources they deserve. The House of Representatives has rescinded its decision to pass for second reading a constitutional amendment bill to strip the Vice President, governors, and deputy governors of immunity as conferred by Section 308 of the Constitution as amended. The House also rescinded its decision to pass for second reading the bill to amend the Constitution to review penalty for certain category of offenses. The two bills were passed for second reading and referred to the House Committee on Constitutional Review. According to reports, the bill stripping the Vice President and others of immunity, titled "A Bill for an Act to Alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to qualify the immunity conferred on the President, remove the immunity conferred on the Vice President, the governors, and their deputies in order to curb corruption, eradicate impunity, and enhance accountability in public office is sponsored by Solomon Bob. Also, Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu and 6 others sponsored the bill on penalty for certain capital offences titled A Bill for an Act to Alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Cap C23 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to review the penalties for certain capital offences in alignment with relevant international best practices. The Deputy Speaker, who presided over plenary, said the rescission of the decision to pass them for second reading became necessary in view of the need to subject them to further debate. The House of Representatives has launched an investigation into the alleged abuse of tax incentives, waivers, and exemptions, which has reportedly cost the federal government an estimated 8 trillion naira in lost revenue. The decision followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by a member representing Oriade Obokun Federal Constituency, Osun State, Oluwole Oke, during plenary today. The House had initially adopted the motion on July 14, 2023, but Oke's renewed push suggests that no significant action had been taken on the matter. Speaking on the motion, Oke noted that taxation of incomes, profits, capital gains, export and import falls exclusively under the federal government's control, with fiscal policies designed to stabilize economic conditions. According to Honorable Oke, some of the tools available to monetary and fiscal policy authorities to stimulate economic activities in certain sectors include tax waivers, tax breaks, tax exemptions, and tax incentives. The government grants these incentives to attract investment into specific industries. He recalled that successive administrations had issued fiscal policy measures and tax modification orders in line with national economic strategies, with some interventions yielding positive results. However, the lawmaker lamented that despite the government's good intentions, tax incentives and waivers had created a major black hole in the country's finances, mainly due to abuses by companies benefiting from the scheme. Following deliberations, the House mandated its committees on industry, finance, and commerce to investigate the issue and submit a report within 4 weeks for further legislative action. In continuation of its quest for a new People's Democratic Nigerian Constitution, the Patriots, led by former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, are to meet the leadership of the National Assembly in April. The scheduled meeting with both the Senate and the House of Representatives comes as a follow-up to an August 9, 2024 meeting held with President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The Patriots comprises eminent Nigerians including Ike Nwachukwu, Tanko Yakasai, Olusegun Oshoba, Alani Akinrinade, Anya O Anya, Idika Kalu, Obiageli Ezekwesili. The membership also includes Philip Asiodu, Pat Utomi, Solomon Asemota SAN, Olisa Agbakoba SAN, Obong Atta, Anthony Kila, and Labaran Marco. The group remains persistent in its call on President Bola Tinubu to convene a constituent assembly where Nigerians from every part of the country negotiate a constitution that reflects their will and their resistance. The eminent Nigerians insist that only having a People's Democratic Constitution is solution to the nation's challenges of hardship, corruption, and insecurity. The Patriots restated this cause when members converged for the 20th memorial anniversary of their founding chairman, Chief F.R.A. Williams, at the F.R.A. Williams Chambers in Lagos. Addressing journalists on the occasion, General Secretary, the Patriot, Mr. Olawale Okuneye, said the group's mission to the National Assembly is to demand the lawmakers to amend Section 8 and 9 of the 1999 Constitution to include a referendum plebiscite clause whereby the people can demand a change of the Constitution at any time. As momentum builds ahead of the 2027 elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission has confirmed it has received 91 applications for the registration of new political parties. The People's Democratic Party stated that the number of applications received by INEC reflected a lack of unity among opposition leaders, while the New Nigeria People's Party called it a testament to the incompetence of the ruling All Progressives Congress. The Labour Party, however, welcomed the development but called on INEC to carefully review all applications before proceeding with registration. But the All Progressives Congress claimed that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar was behind the move, asserting that it would come to nothing as the party was confident of winning the 2027 elections. The announcement was made amid accusations from opposition groups who alleged that INEC was intentionally obstructing the registration of new political parties in preparation for the 2027 general elections. A key figure in the opposition coalition and former national vice chairman of the All Progressives Congress for the Northwest, Saliu Lukman, said registered political parties which did not meet the electoral threshold by winning a seat in the previous general elections are at risk of being deregistered. In his statement, Lukman emphasized that the question of negotiating the political party is the most difficult challenge, saying this is an era that many members of the coalitions have been engaging in different ways for more than a year now. The Rivers State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibot Ete Ibas, has suspended political appointees and office holders in the state with immediate effect. In a statement, the Chief of Staff to the Administrator said the decision was made under the powers granted to Ibas by President Bola Tinubu. Those affected include the Secretary to the State Government, the Chief of Staff, all commissioners, chairpersons and members of boards, agencies and commissions, and parastatals, as well as all special advisors, special assistant, and senior special assistant. The suspension takes immediate effect with the directive that the affected officers should hand over to the permanent secretaries in their MDAs. The statement further stated that where there may be no permanent secretary, they are to hand over to the most senior director, head of administration. Ibas was sworn in as sole administrator by President Bola Tinubu after the president declared a state of emergency in Rivers State. The president also suspended Governor Sinayi Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for an initial period of 6 months. Ibas, who is a former chief of naval staff, vowed to maintain law and order in the state. He also promised to work together with other stakeholders to ensure that order is restored in the state. Meanwhile, the Rivers State chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress has emphasized that workers remain apolitical and should not be made to suffer the consequences of the ongoing political crisis in the state. In a communique issued after its State Executive Council meeting in Port Harcourt, the NLC called for the immediate implementation of the 70,000 naira minimum wage at the local government level in the state. The union also demanded the payment of both outstanding and current salaries owed to local government workers. Addressing journalists after the meeting, NLC State Chairman Alex Ngwanwo reaffirmed the Congress's stance, aligning with the positions of the organized labor, the NLC, and the Trade Union Congress in opposing the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. The union further urged the state government to sustain the early payment of public workers' salaries and wages while advocating for a transparent and peaceful reconciliation process to resolve the ongoing political crisis in the state. The Nigerian Air Force says it has, in a multi-wave airstrikes, eliminated scores of suspected terrorists at Warawara near Wajiroko and Chinene in the Mandara Mountains area of Borno State. This is contained in a statement by the Deputy Director of Public Relations and Information of NAF, Group Captain Kabir Ali in Abuja, adding that the NAF had sustained its counter-terrorism operations tempo in the northeast, executing decisive airstrikes in multiple waves and dealing a severe blow to insurgent activities. Group Captain Ali said that NAV, guided by painstaking intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, identified a number of terrorists stockpiling logistics and planting improvised explosives devices around Wajiroko. According to him, surveillance tracked their movement to a concealed location housing a gun truck, ammunition stockpiles, and fuel reserves. He said the airstrikes also destroyed 4 terrorist gun trucks, 2 Toyota Hilux vehicles, and several makeshift shelters, forcing the insurgents to abandon their positions, degrading their operational capabilities. Government at all levels, individuals and organizations have been called upon for the rejuvenation of the Nigeria's correctional system, rehabilitating and reintegrating inmates into the society. The committee chairman for security at the Medium Security Custodian Center in the state, Prophet Sunday Adeleke, made a call during a meeting with the OSBC management. John Oyelaki has the details.
In the gathering, Chairman of Committee for Security at the Medium Security Custodian Center, Prophet Sunday Adeleke, stated the need for provision of essential tools for inmates who must have served their jail terms for economic survival rather than going back to criminality. Prophet Adeleke highlighted the mission of the initiative as its primary focus is rehabilitation of inmates, empower them with basic income skills, also ensure that they are properly monitored both inside and outside the correctional facility. He noted that the aim of the NGO is to assist the government by getting records from the correctional center and empower the inmates with skills that can help them outside the prison camp through strategic interventions.
We are trying to see how all these inmates can have a soft landing when they are released, so that skill acquisition and empowerment could be gotten for free through the government and some NGOs. So now when they have this, there is that tendency that somebody that is occupied, the chances of he or she taking of crime will be greatly reduced.
The committee appealed to the OSBC management to develop public awareness programs such as advertisements and educational content to sensitize youths and discourage crime.
We see OSBC, the voice of the Southwest, as a major media hub in the Southwest, not only in the Southwest, even in Nigeria. And we'll be glad to partner with you in this regard. We are soliciting for collaboration on advocacy.
Responding, the OSBC management, led by the Permanent Secretary and Director General OSBC, Mrs. Jolade Igbarola, commended the initiative and reaffirmed the corporation's commitment to supporting rehabilitation efforts through public enlightenment and advocacy.
Before now, we've been having this issue of discongesting our rehabilitation centers, and the government has been talking about it, but there is need for NGOs and the individual to contribute their own quota so that we get this problem solved.
A call for collective effort towards the sustainability of rehabilitation programs for inmates was made by the committee, reaffirming its commitment to fostering a correctional system not to only correct but also reforms in ensuring a safer and more inclusive society. John Oyelaki, OSBC News.
Online application for the entrance examination into JSS-1 of the Air Force Military School and Air Force Girls Military School in JAS, as well as the Air Force Comprehensive Secondary School for the 2025-2026 academic section has commenced. A statement by the Permanent Secretary, Bureau of Cabinet, Special Services, and Office of the Secretary to the State Government request interested candidates to visit the Nigerian Air Force Examination Center website at www.nafec.ora.ng for further details and to complete their applications. The statement further indicates that the portal for online registration will close on 5th April for AFMS and April 26th for Air Force Comprehensive Secondary Schools, while urging prospective candidates to ensure they complete their registration before the deadlines. And on to sports. You are welcome to our sports segment. Côte d'Ivoire announced its withdrawal from hosting the 2025 Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations just weeks before the commencement of the tournament. Details of the sports story and others are presented by John Oyelaki.
Withdrawal from hosting the 2025 Under-20 African Cup of Nations just week before the commencement of the tournament. The tournament was originally scheduled for April 26 to May 18, 2025. The Ivorian Football Federation announced that the president and chairman of the organizing committee for the Under-20 African Cup of Nations, Yacine Idriss Diallo, confirms that the government has officially notified FIFE of its decision to withdraw from hosting the tournament. However, following the president's directives, the executive director relayed this information to the CAF Secretary General this week. The president extends his deep gratitude to all those involved in the organizational effort and affirms that all parties will be informed of CAF's decision regarding the situation. CAF had already conducted the draw for the tournament in Cairo, Egypt in February. Group A comprised Côte d'Ivoire, DR Congo, Ghana, Tanzania, and Central African Republic. Group B has Nigeria's Flying Eagles, Egypt, South Africa, and Morocco. Then Group C has champions Senegal, Zambia, Kenya, and Sierra Leone. Meanwhile, CAF is discussing with Egypt about replacing Côte d'Ivoire as host. The 4 semi-finalists will qualify as African representative for the 2025 Under-20 World Cup in Chile. After the humiliating 4-1 defeat to Argentina and the poor World Cup qualifying campaign, Brazilian Football Confederation reported that talks with Carlo Ancelotti to take over the national team have reopened. The CBF has had a long-standing administration for Carlo Ancelotti, with the Italian being one of the top names on the replacement list. Ancelotti first held talks to take over the Selecao in 2023, but instead opted to sign a new contract to stay at Real Madrid until 2026. Consequently, Brazil ended up hiring current manager Dorival Jr. in January 2024, but things haven't quite gone to plan, with pressure mounting on the manager. Despite initial contracts, Ancelotti has insisted that any further talk of his future must wait until after the FIFA World Cup in the United States in June and July. Brazil are optimistic about securing the services of Ancelotti, whose own future is uncertain after the Club World Cup. The CBF leadership now has political stability until 2030, with the federation identifying Ancelotti as the ideal candidate who has experience working with the national team stars Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. However, former Atletico Madrid defender Filipe Luis, currently manager of Flamengo, and Al Hilal manager Joe Jesus are emerging candidates, with both clubs alongside with Real Madrid are participating in the Club World Cup. It is unlikely that the CBF will take a decision soon. John Oyelaki, OSBC News.
And on the foreigns, in South Sudan's main opposition party said its leader, Riek Machar, has been arrested as the United Nations called on all parties to uphold the 2018 agreement that ended the country's civil war. Olubunmi Ajiboye-Agbola has details of the story and others.
heavily armed vehicles arriving at Macha's home, where he was arrested alongside his wife. Macha is one of the 5 vice presidents in Sudan, and opposition spokesperson Park Deng said in a video that Macha was arrested by the government and his life was at risk. South Sudan's 5-year civil war, in which 400,000 people were killed, ended in a 20 season between Kerr and Macha's parties and escalated this month when the White Army, which belonged to the Simbad Hotel in were taken to hospitals and are in a stable condition. It was not immediately clear what caused the submarine to sink. Olubumi Ajib.
We've come to the end of the major report on OSBC TV. It was put together by Olubumi Agbola and delivered by Babatunde Fanopo, saying thank you for watching. Good night.
Is fun. But as a mom, I see how demanding it can be for my child. That's why I ensure he starts every day with a cup of Bonvita. Give your child Bonvita. It contains essential vitamins and minerals that support mental and physical vitality. Bonvita. Prepare them to win every day.
Nothing ever happens by chance. Really.